The next karts out on track are the juniors for their third qualifying heat. But it's interesting. At the moment, we have 5 winners from 6 races. And the man who's won 2 is Joe Turney. Looking very good indeed, Joe Turney out in front. And it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of this race weekend develops, especially now the wind has picked up and those clouds really are gathering speed over the circuit now. Are we about to get rain here at Chiva? I really hope not, because so far it's been absolutely glorious. Even though it's been cold, it has been without rain. So hopefully it is going to remain the same way. However, it is karting, and as we all know, karting weather changes on the turn of a dial or at the quick sneeze of a spectator. So in the X30 Juniors, we now have qualifying heat B, C. So that's groups B and C that will now race against each other. And on pole position is going to be the man who didn't do any practice at all in the morning of yesterday and then came straight through and was fastest in his qualifying group. The Swedish racer from Stockholm, it is Robbie Norman, who races under Spanish license because he competes over here in the Spanish Championships. And he's doing an absolutely fantastic job. Now, I've got a question here on the live stream, and it's from QV number 319. Can Americans join? You certainly can, if there are Americans who want to compete. In fact, we do have one American in the paddock who is of dual nationality, America and Japan, Reese Ushijima. He competes under a British racing license. But yes, if you want to compete in the European Championships, you certainly can. The best way, if you have a question on that front, is to head to the website, IAMEEuroseries.com, and do make inquiries with RGMMC. I'm sure they would welcome the American contingent. There are some very talented American racing drivers in the karting world at international level, and I have no doubt at all that it would be interesting to see how the top Americans would pit their wits against the European contingent. Particularly seeing as how we've got quite a few drivers from the Asian world of racing as well. We've got a few drivers from Japan, a couple from Hong Kong. I think Jacob Ang is from Singapore. And we were going to have from the Middle East this weekend, Shihab Al-Habzi, who races in all sorts of competitions around the world, although he did have an arm injury recently in a, I believe it was a testing session rather than a competition. And unfortunately, the Omanese driver was unable to make the starting grid for this weekend, which is a real shame because I think he really would have been a strong contender for a top 10 finish. However, we have to move on that front. We're now going to the X30 Juniors. It is the Swede Robbie Norman who lines up alongside Alex Lloyd on the front of the grid. He is already a heat winner over the course of the day for the Dan Holland Racing Team. On the second row is the Estonian Rimo Kadapik and the Brit Zach Ripley, who has had another fantastic run. Then we have the Scotsman Lewis Gilbert on the third row of the grid alongside the Spaniard Hugo Beldaromov. And that will be interesting to see if Lewis Gilbert can have another strong result. Excuse me. Then we have the Swede Wilgot Edqvist alongside the Brit Josh Rattican. And then Lorenzo James Fluschercross and Guillaume de Oliveira will round out the top 10. So great racing. Hello to everybody watching the live stream via Telemundi Media on YouTube and via the website IAMEEuroseries.com, and of course listening via Downforce UK on your mobile phones. It's an absolutely fantastic day, although the clouds are coming in now to make it a lot colder. It's very interesting because we had some bright sunshine, and obviously with this being Spain, when you get a blue sky with bright sunshine, it gets incredibly hot very quickly, but as soon as it disappears behind the clouds, it's February, so it gets quite cold again. It's quite deceptive. It's quite funny. We had some people in the paddock yesterday when it was quite clear. In the morning, they started with woolly coats and gloves and hats and scarves, and by noon, they were all running around in shorts, T-shirts and trainers. It's a very unnerving situation, but if you look at those clouds overhead, that is starting to look quite ominous. Are we going to get rain around the Cartodromo Lucas Guerrero here in Chiva in Valencia? It's tough to know, actually, because we're going to find it quite tough to control the weather. The wind is definitely picking up, though. So it is a little bit cooler. That does mean, however, that the lap times will probably be a little bit quicker, although the pure lap times will obviously be from yesterday in the practice and qualifying when it's not about racing and it's all about getting yourself a good position on the grid. That time, however, is done, and drivers now have to roll their sleeves up and get on with it. And there's quite a few decent drivers here going for it. The whistle goes in the pits, and that tells us that the mechanics are now clearing the grid. In 3 minutes, they will be released. While that's happening, I'll give you a detailed run of the starting grid. Robin Norman, the Swede, is there on the pole position. Alongside him on the starting grid is Alex Lloyd, and he will be trying once again to get another heat victory. Remo Kadapik of Estonia is on the second row alongside the Brit Zach Ripley. Lewis Gilbert of Scotland is there alongside Hugo Belderumov, the Spaniard, in third row. On the fourth row is the Swede Wilgert Edqvist, and then we have Josh Ratican alongside him. On the fifth row, rounding out the top 10, is Lorenzo James Flushercross and Guillaume de Oliveira of Portugal. Then on the sixth row, it is Felix Aparicio Rodriguez, and alongside him is the German Daniel Greger. On seventh row, it is Matthew Rees and Josh McLean, an all-British seventh row. Then the Swiss driver, Aaron Rashepi, is alongside Daniel Nogales of Spain. And then we have another Spaniard, Eric Alanis Bosch, alongside Josh Rowledge of Great Britain. And then on the 10th row, it is the French lady Lola Lovinfos and the Belgian Alessandro Tudishka. And then we have the Frenchman Jules Goujon alongside Max Mir on the 11th row. Hopefully his car won't let him down this time. And then Benjamin Fuglsang and Jasper Hassanen will line up on the 12th row of the grid from Norway and Finland, respectively. An interesting battle then in this particular one, with Alex Lloyd being a race winner and Robbie Norman being a surprising top of the timesheets in yesterday's qualifying session, having not set a single lap in the earlier two practice sessions. So this one could be an interesting one for the two karts at the front. We'll see how it goes, because all of them have an opportunity to win at this stage. And as we know, in competitions such as this one at international level, the drivers are slowly starting to run out of time to book their place in the A and B finals, which of course run tomorrow. So for all those who are watching the stream and thinking, my goodness, this looks like a good day of racing, well, you're in luck, and you should rub your hands together in glee, because you're going to get another one tomorrow. Oh dear, I'm going to lose my voice and not be able to speak my own name by tomorrow, but this is Jake Sanson up in the commentary box, overlooking the starting gantry at the Cartodromo Lucas Guerrero, just down the road from the main town centre of Xiva, outside the city of Valencia. And we have all got to love this particular part of the world. In southeast Spain, it is a wonderful, wonderful part of the world and a magnificent place to go motor racing on what is a very fast, sweeping and twisty technical challenge. These drivers are about to find out all about that once again as we go racing once more. Now, interestingly, it took a little bit of time for Alex Lloyd to head out onto the circuit. He was a little bit sluggish away. That shouldn't mean anything too dramatic as they leave the pits. But the drivers are now going to get themselves up to speed. There's a grid once again. Norman and Lloyd, Kadapik and Ripley, Gilbert and Belderumov, Edqvist and Ratican, Flushercross and de Oliveira, Aparicio Rodriguez and Gregor, Rees and McLean, Rashepi and Nogales, Alanis Bosch and Rowledge, Lovinfos and Tudishka, Goujon and Mir, and Fuglsang and Hassanen. 24 karts. An incredibly intense level of competition and a great run. And we've got the I've got the Spanish contingent waving at me. I've got Lucas Jack Flushercross waving at me over there, and I've also got Alejandro Melendez Pardi waving to us as well. Good to see the youngsters in the X30 Minis watching the racing for the X30 Juniors. It won't be long before they're on this grid. Probably next year we'll see some of those fighting on the X30 Junior grid. And obviously we're all very interested to see how they go in the X30 Minis a little time later. I'm getting lots of waves in my commentary box position from the guys on the gantry. It's great. The atmosphere here is absolutely fantastic. It's one of the best international meetings I think I've ever been part of. Absolutely amazing. And this is only the second time we've run the IAME Winter Cup. Last year was the first, and we had 58 drivers in the paddock. This year we have over 150. So that's, in my book, a 300% increase on what we had last year. That's 300% of what we had last year. That's probably about a 200% increase, actually. Oh, I haven't had my bacon sandwich yet. The maths aren't working. Anyway, we've got Norman and Lloyd out in the front of the grid. Robbie Norman of Sweden, although he races under a Spanish license, hence why when you see his name on the graphics, it will have a Spanish flag. But he is from Stockholm in Sweden, and he's done an absolutely fantastic job racing over here, so he knows this place very well. Alongside him on the grid is Alex Lloyd, and it'll be interesting to see if the Dan Holland racing driver, who is still on the fight back after a major injury last year, he had all sorts of difficulties, but his absolutely titanic fight back to full fitness is going very well. And Alex Lloyd is a name you should bookmark and remember in the same way that we have done in the past for such karting talents as Anthony Davidson, Jenson Button and Lewis Hamilton. Alex Lloyd I would put in that category as a potential world champion in any form of motor racing. But behind them we've still got Kadapik, Ripley, Gilbert, Belderumov, Edqvist, Ratican, Flushercross and de Oliveira, and they're going to go round again by the look of it. Yes, indeed. They decide that the grid has not been formed up quite the way it should be. Now, basically, if this has happened, then they have to go around again. And that can be judged based on how clean the start is. You have to remember, of course, that the drivers basically have to form up in unison around the circuit, and they have to do so in 2 rows. But they have to keep their carts in between the 2 white lines on the grid hatchings. And if they come out of that position on the run down to the start line before the lights go out, if they come with a couple of wheels over, then it's a 3-second penalty. If they come completely out of the grid hatchings on the line, then it is a 10-second penalty. So the drivers have got to be very careful how they do that. And they clearly decided that the field was not quite bunched up enough for that start to be clean, so they decided to reboot it. So do keep your messages coming in. I love watching the live chat as much as the live stream is playing out. And if you have any messages of support for any particular drivers that you're rooting for, then please do share that with us. When we go into the 3rd heat of the day for the juniors. We've had an interesting one already with Alex Lloyd and Marty Boyer at the top of their particular competitions. But there's still a long way to go. 7 laps for the X30 juniors. It's a shorter race, but it's definitely going to be as intense, if not more so, because they've got less time to play with. Make sure we're slotted in position, guys. That'll do. And it's a good start, even for the evens. They've got a good start away. And they've managed to break a little bit of a deadlock from the guys who were slow up behind. The 31 getting a very slow start off the line there, actually. And that is Daniel Gregor, the German. But there's a little bit of shuffling through turn 3. Are they all going to make it through? Just about. Although it was a little bit hectic in the midfield. Lewis Gilbert kicking up the dust in about 7th position there. 6th position, my apologies. But they all run through relatively in ship shape as the drivers continue to come through. So Robbie Norman is currently out in front of the race, having got a better start than Lloyd, but Lloyd dives down the inside into the left-hander, and Alex Lloyd takes the lead back again from Robin Norman, and that looks like Kadapik there in 3rd position. The Estonian still relatively intact then. The top 10 or so are pretty much where they started. But Robin Norman now giving Alex Lloyd some hassle. Down the straight, into the S's, right, left, right, and that looks to me as though a move is being sized up there for the 3rd position already, as Robin Norman has lost that 2nd place to Kadapik. So Kadapik comes across the line in 2nd place, but Robin Norman gets straight back through. Does he? No. Kadapik manages to keep the door slammed firmly shut. Then it is Zach Ripley in 4th position, having got past Hugo Belderomov. And then in 6th place, it is Lewis Gilbert, the Scotsman, in front of Josh Radican, Vilga Edqvist, Felicia Cross, and Aparicio Rodriguez. Great racing so far as they all work their way around the circuit. Good battles around the circuit. Now we're going to try and see how the battle shapes up here as Rimo Kadapik hangs on to 2nd place in front of Robin Norman with Hugo Belderomov, Zach Ripley, Lewis Gilbert, Josh Radican, Vilgot Edqvist, Lorenzo James Flusher Cross. All of those drivers still battling away very hard indeed. Down the back straight, and Alex Lloyd has got himself a bit of a lead. He might not lose this. We've only got 5 laps to go at the end of this one. He might not lose this lead. It's big enough at the moment that he can rest easy at the front of the field. We've got amazing battles further back, though, as Robin Norman's getting a bit of a tussle from Lewis Gilbert. And up the inside, that looked to me like it was Josh Radican trying to come through. Didn't quite get the gap to do so. Rimo Kadapik, meanwhile, has dropped the man who's moved up to 3rd place. What a battle this is for Zach Ripley. Ripley has come up into 3rd position. I told you he was one to look out for earlier in the day, and Ripley is definitely getting there, although he runs a little bit deep, and that's enough for Hugo Belderomov. Hugo Belderomov he makes a charge and gets up into 3rd position. So Belderomov into 3rd place in front of Ripley, Norman, Gilbert, Radican, Edqvist, and Flusher Cross. Great racing so far. Good battles and amazing racing on the far side. There's a bit of a wave there, actually, from Rimo Kadapik. Rimo Kadapik was waving at the marshals as he went by. He was on his own. He didn't have anybody right underneath him, so something's going on. I'm not sure what Rimo Kadapik's on about. Right, left, right in the chicane, and desperately trying to close up on Alex Lloyd. What if the Estonian could get there? Rimo Kadapik doing a great job at the moment. In 2nd position. Then it's Belderomov in 3rd. Norman, Gilbert, Radican, Ripley, Flushercross, Aparicio Rodriguez, and Edqvist. No major catastrophes in this one as the field continues to run in formation. But Alex Lloyd is slowly being chipped away at by Rimo Kadapik. Alex Lloyd was only 14 thousandths of a second quicker than him in the 1st sector, but the first purple split on this lap comes from Josh Radican. He's the only driver in the field, other than Hugo Belderomov, to dip beneath 15 seconds for the first split. So Josh Radican, very fast at this point in 6th position, has a chance to move forward and is trying to make his way forward to do just that. It's going to be very interesting to see how things are. Great battle on the back straight. Alex Lloyd, Remo Katapik. 3rd place for Hugo Belderumov is not going to be there for long, though, as up the inside comes Robbie Norman. Robbie Norman gets back into 3rd position. The Swede in a nice position now. Lewis Gilbert in 5th. 6th is Radican. Here comes Radican up the inside at the same move. Oh, my word. That was Gilbert trying to make the move on Hugo Belderumov at the same time, and he realised just at the last minute, and Radican comes through up into P5. Good battling there and amazing racing. Good battles as they continue on. Now, Remo Katapik is still chipping away at Alex Lloyd's lead, but he's going to run out of time. Surely we're on lap 5 out of 7 in this heat. I don't think he's going to have enough time to make this work for him. He's still got a deficit of about a second to make up on Alex Lloyd. Lewis Gilbert, meanwhile, goes up the inside of Hugo Belderumov and gets through. So that is all of them now having made their way past the Spaniard. Robin Norman's now 3rd. Radican is now 4th. And that means that we've also got Josh Radican up there into 5th position. Good work. So up in the top 6, all battling away, trying to close up on Remo Katapik in 2nd place, who was fastest in the warm-up this morning. But Alex Lloyd is the man who leads the way for the 2nd time. Here comes Gilbert up the inside of Radican for 4th position. Gilbert makes the switch, gets through, no problem at all. And so Gilbert in 4th place, Radican in 5th, 6th place Hugo Belderumov. And they're all trying to get a little bit closer to the man in front of them, Robin Norman, the Swede, in 7th position. Just behind them, that is Zach Ripley, who was up in 3rd place at one point, don't forget. So he still has a chance to get further up the road. But it is going to be tough. 2 laps to go, including this one. Still battles all the way down the field as the juniors are pushing on very hard indeed. But Alex Lloyd looks good at the head of the field. Remo Katapik of Estonia is there in 2nd place. 3rd is Robin Norman of Sweden. Down the back straight. Through the double right flick. Alex Lloyd looks good out in the lead here. And he's going to go into his last lap. Large and in command of it. Over the line goes Alex Lloyd. Looks back. It's all nice and easy from here. Remo Katapik is too far back for my money. 3rd place, Robin Norman. Lewis Gilbert in 4th position. He is the fastest man in the 1st split. Robin Norman is the fastest man in the 2nd split. Hugo Belderumov is the fastest man in the 3rd split. But the fastest lap of the race is Lewis Gilbert. Lewis Gilbert is the fastest man on the track, and he is now in P4. Could he make P3? He's right on the back of Robin Norman. Look how close it's getting for 5th as Radican, Belderumov and Ripley go. Oh, Belderumov's gone off the circuit. Belderumov. Ripley on the inside. I don't think he saw Zach Ripley there on the inside. Tried to turn in, and Ripley was already there. So Belderumov had nowhere to go but onto the dust, and that's ruined his race. Right on the last lap too. But down the back straight, Alex Lloyd is a million miles ahead of Remo Katapik by his standards. The checkered flag is going to come out for the 2nd time today in the Junior X30s. It's going to be for Alex Lloyd. Lloyd does it again. Thank you very much. Remo Katapik in 2nd. Robin Norman 3rd. Lewis Gilbert in 4th. Radican, Ripley, and in 7th place it is Lorenzo James Flushacross. So Flushacross in 7th place in front of Aparicio Rodriguez. Then Josh McLean and Josh Rowledge round out the top 10 for Great Britain. Wilger Edqvist is 11th in front of Matthew Rees from Aaron Rashepi, Eric Alanis Bosch, Guillaume de Oliveira. Hugo Belderumov eventually comes home down in 16th place. What a disaster. 17th goes to Alessandro Tedesca, Jules Goujon, Lola Lovinfoss, Max Meir, Daniel Nogales, Benjamin Fuglsang, Jasper Hassinen, and Daniel Gregor the German. But Alex Lloyd has done what it takes here today for the 2nd time of asking. In 3 races, we have a double winner. And that man is Alex Lloyd. He looks good here. But now we are going to turn our attention to the A and D heat. And in that one is a man everybody is a little bit nervous about. That is the Spaniard on home soil. The one that everybody is talking about. And that is Marty Boyer. Marty Boyer was fastest in both practice sessions, qualifying and the winner of his first heat. And the Spaniard will want to continue on that winning form